Let's pause for a minute to talk about Anchor by Spotify. Anchor is an easy to use, one stop shop to create and host your podcast. When we started making Sleeping with the Numbers, we used other hosts first that forced us to manually upload to Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But with Anchor, you simply upload to a single spot and it distributes it automatically to all of these locations. But that isn't all. With Anchor, you can easily record, edit, and even add music directly from Spotify to your podcast to make it sound even better. So if you've been waiting around to create a podcast, wait no longer, because Anchor by Spotify makes it extremely easy to do. Anchor is completely free and can be used by downloading the mobile app on iOS or Android, or even right from their website, anchor.fm. Make an account today and get podcasting.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Owen and Pat here, and this is happy holidays episode. So it's going to be another extended episode. We're going to go through all the matchups. We're going to make our picks, and we're going to talk some fantasy football. Week 15 was not fun at all. COVID is really screwing things up for the first time in 2 years. Last year they had some games moved around and stuff, but this was the first time it really felt like it's made an impact, not just on, the fantasy world, but on sports betting as well. So Pat, when we have to bet on these games, when we have to make our choices, does COVID impact your decisions at all? There's a lot of big players getting placed on COVID IR.
Yeah, for certain, because to me, it may not affect the complete outcome of the game, but you never know what's going to do the spread. And I think we've seen something as simple as Urban Meyer getting fired as the coach can affect the spread. So I think it does make a difference, because if you have an example, let's say like Steelers Chiefs right now, trying to find the line, but who knows what's okay. So, man, the Steelers are getting 7.5 points. That's not good for Pittsburgh. But I can tell you that if Patrick Mahomes was put on the COVID list, that would go away very quickly. Mm-hmm. So I think that for the better, you want to make sure that you know who's going to be in, who's going to be out up front, because say if I take these odds with Pittsburgh plus 7.5, and then you find out later that Mahomes isn't playing, well, you basically should win that bet at that point. So I think it does make a huge difference, and it makes me a little bit more conservative and wait until the last second to see exactly who's on that list.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always had a conflict myself when deciding, is it better to bet early or late? And I've looked up a few different conversations about this, and there's two sides of this thought. And the first thought is when opening lines are released, there's no sharp action or anything. So that is just the initial line that Vegas puts out there. And then, as we know, the line gets adjusted as bets come in. And that's why the closing lines people like so much, because it has all the sharp action. It has the public betting and everything. So if you want to fade the public or if you want to go with the sharps, whatever you want to do. If there's a clear miscalculation in terms of spread or even money line odds, I like taking those early. But it's difficult to do now with COVID. So you brought up the example of Mahomes being out. This actually happened with the Cleveland Vegas game. The Raiders were favored. I don't remember by how much, but they were favored going into Saturday's game. And then when I went and looked at the spread when it got moved to Monday, they were underdogs again. I think Cleveland ended up favored by like 1.5 points or something like that. And I didn't quite understand that because they were on their third string backup and it just seemed off. So I don't know what was going on there, but it's easy to see these flips now. But if I'm betting with these COVID games, I tend to move or go with your idea of waiting till the last second, because you don't know. Anything could happen. I got screwed again this week with Tyler Higbee. There was no COVID designation for him until the last second, and he was out. So I got 0 points from my tight end in a league. And it's the same team that didn't have Lamar Jackson. So just annoying. Anyways, we're going to start with the matchups, making our picks. And Pat, I just want to reiterate just how good we are at making our picks. So I went through and I looked at our overall record from making our picks, money line and spread. And then I looked at the past 3 weeks. So for you, Pat, overall, since we started tracking, which was week 10, for the money line, you are 53, 31, and 1. That is a correct pick of 63.1% of the time. In the last 3 weeks, even better, 31 and 11, making the right pick on the money line 73.8% of the time. So damn good on the money line. And in the spread, a little closer, 45, 39, and 1. We had a push just this past week with I think it was a Washington game. Yeah, Washington-Philly game. It was a 10-point spread, and the score was 17-27. So there's one tie there, 60.8% overall since we started tracking, and 61% overall over the past 3 weeks for you on the spread, 25, 16, and 1. For me, I am 54, 30, and 1 on the money line overall, 29 and 13 over the last 3 weeks. And then for the spread, I'm not great on the spread overall. 48, 36, and 1, 57.1% correct. Over the last 3 weeks, much better. 27, 14, and 1, 65.9%. So if you tailed either one of us, you're making money. But interesting thing here, Pat. So we talk about the sweating bets, the bets that both you and I agree on. I went and looked back at all those too. For the money line, when we both agree on a pick, we're 44, 23, and 1, 65.7% since we started tracking. That's better than either your money line and my money line. So when we agree, we have a better chance of hitting, apparently.
So what you're saying is if I have to give in whenever you try to convince me of something and just accept it for the greater good.
That's right. That's right. For the money line, this is all you for the past 3 weeks. You like I said, you're at 73.8% over the last 3 weeks. I'm at 64.9. When we both agree over the past 3 weeks, we're 73.5% accurate, 25 and 9. So again, pretty good. This is where it gets interesting. Overall, for the spread, when we both agree on the spread, we're actually worse than when we disagree. 52.6% of the time on the spread when we both agree on it, we're correct. However, if just I agree on it, 57.1. If just you agree on it, 60.8. So that's an interesting one. It's different over the past 3 weeks. We really seem to have hit our stride on the spread. When we both agree on the spread in the past 3 weeks, we're 65.4% accurate, which is also pretty good. So overall, if you're tailing us, especially over these past 3 weeks, congrats, you're making some money. And to prove that, I got a little verified check mark on my Action Network. So I pretty much only do Wong teasers on my Action Network, and they've been working. They've been profitable for the past couple months now. This past week, it wasn't as good. I think it was like 20 and 16 or something like that. But either way, profit, that is all that matters in the end. Let's hop into these matchups. We have a Thursday night football game. We have football every day of the week now. Today is our only day off, Wednesday the 22nd. So Thursday night football, San Francisco going to take on Tennessee. Who we got here? Tennessee is 3.5 point home underdog. So San Francisco going into Nashville as the favorite here. Pretty low over under 44 points. San Francisco just rolled out Elijah Mitchell for this game, so that means Jeff Wilson. He's looked pretty good, but Tennessee's defense has actually been pretty solid against the running back position, giving up the least amount of points to the running backs in terms of fantasy points, 18.25. So, I mean, I doubt you're really starting any of these running backs to begin with. Foreman, because you have to. Maybe you had Henry and you picked up the handcuff, but I'm talking about the wrong team. With Elijah Mitchell out, I think Jeff Wilson still gets a lot of work, but maybe he has a higher floor. But I would look elsewhere because San Francisco running backs are known to just continuously get injured. So, Pat, I have no idea how to feel about these games. I feel less confident than I have in pretty much all of the time we've been doing this. Julio looks like he's going to be playing practice in full even after leaving the game. Elijah Mitchell's out, so like I said, Jeff Wilson, 3.5 points. That's pretty good. Man, Tennessee's just such a difficult team to predict. I think I do agree that San Francisco is the better team. Man, Tannehill's looked bad. I'll take San Francisco to win and cover.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say, because I could care less who the running back is for San Francisco. Looking at their past 5, they're 4-1, which their loss was to Seattle, and that's not super impressive. But the Titans have lost to the Steelers, which they stink. The Patriots are good. The Texans stink, and they barely beat the Saints. So I think for me, in terms of teams that I expect to be better, I've expected San Francisco to play a little bit better than they have all year. We kind of talked about how they're not really like the top dog in the NFC West anymore. But for me, Tennessee's clearly getting exposed with Derrick Henry being gone and AJ Brown not really being as productive as he needs to be. And they also don't have Taylor Lewin. So I think for me, San Francisco is the more complete team right now. So I'm going to take the points. No, I said that wrong. So for me, San Francisco's the better team. So I'm going to risk, the 3 points, assuming that they should beat up on the Titans pretty good.
Yeah, pretty important game here for the 49ers as well. They get a win. They have a 94% chance of making playoffs. They're already at 79%, which is obviously pretty good. But this win would all but lock them into a wild card position for them, because I don't think they're getting division. The next 2 matchups really aren't that bad. They have the Titans, and then they got the Texans next week, and then Rams to finish it out, which that might be their only loss here in the next 3 weeks. Titans, however, what happens to them? I think they've all but solidified a playoff spot. Yeah, they currently have a 98% chance of making playoffs. Even if they win this game, that doesn't mean they clinch. They need a few other things to happen here. So there are some clinching cases for Tennessee. In order for them to clinch, they need to beat the 49ers, and they need the Cardinals to beat the Colts, which is not a great ask with Cardinals losing to Detroit. I don't even want to talk about them. They've been difficult to bet. Something I want to do, Pat, at maybe the end of the season is go in for each team and see how well we did per team in terms of betting. Because I feel like there's some teams that we were just, maybe we thought more of them than they were. And it feels like the Cardinals might be that case. They're still a very good team. I didn't think they would shit the pants so hard without Hopkins against Detroit. Next matchup here, I believe, is this a Christmas Day game? Cleveland versus Green Bay? Yes, it is. We have 2 games on Christmas. So Cleveland taking on Green Bay. Green Bay at home, 7-point favorites. I don't see it going any other way. The NFC is now the Green Bay Packers to lose. Tampa Bay got completely annihilated in this past game against New Orleans. They lost Godwin for the rest of the year with an ACL tear. Evans looks like he's going to be out a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Fournette, latest report sounds like he might land on the IR, and they sign Le'Veon Bell to take his spot. I'm not saying he's going to start, but Rojo should get that work. But Lev's going to be there. It's going to be Lev, Antonio Brown, and Brady. So a whole new set of killer bees. Pat, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I love it. I'm super stoked. I think that Antonio Brown deserves another Super Bowl ring, and I think Le'Veon Bell deserves one too.
Man, if you're Tomlin and they go and get a Super Bowl ring together, I don't know how you feel. I don't know how, as a Steeler fan, I would feel.
Yeah, I just know that the standard is the standard, and that's really the amount of logic that I put into thinking about what Mike Tomlin thinks.
I think that's how he feels too. So Cleveland going to Lambeau. Boy. So let's just kind of read off who we got here on the COVID list still. Davion Clowney. I'm only going to read the names that matter. AJ Green. Wait, what? Oh, there's a different AJ Green. That really confused me. AJ Green is a cornerback for Cleveland. Who else we got here? Kareem Hunt, ankle injury, and on the COVID list. Case Keenum on the COVID list still. Jarvis Landry, Baker, all on the COVID list. Njoku has a knee injury. Who else we got here? A couple offensive linemen on the reserve. It's a mess there in Cleveland, and I don't want to jinx it, but let me take a look at Green Bay real quick. I feel like they're okay. Looking here, Cobb's on the IR. We've known that. Aaron Jones has a knee injury, currently questionable. Look till Friday. I bet he plays. MVS is on the COVID list now. I don't think it matters at all. They say to bet the favorites early and bet the underdogs late because of that line movement. So if I am betting this game immediately, I will take the Packers -7. I bet that moves, 8.5 to 9, maybe even up to 10 as we get closer to this game. So for me, Green Bay to win and cover.
Yeah, I agree. Until Cleveland gets healthy, I'm not going to roll with them. If Cleveland was fully healthy, I think that the spread would be a lot closer, and I would consider Cleveland. But if they have not any type of offensive firepower, there's no way they survive.
It's another low-scoring expected game here. 44.5 points here. Vegas has it. That doesn't leave a lot of points here. 25.25 for Green Bay, 18.25 for Cleveland. And I don't know who gets those points for Cleveland. It has to be Chubb. Maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones gets a long bomb, but it was a sad game watching them play the Raiders. And the Raiders barely won, so I feel like Carr should feel bad too. And then the Christmas night matchup, Indianapolis taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals, only a half-point favorite. And with the way they've looked, Pat, I really lean towards the Colts. The Colts have looked good. They took New England to town, and I did not expect that at all. So just to kind of make sense of this, I'm going to look at Indianapolis's injuries. I mean, really none. Rock Ya-Sin's on the COVID list, but I mean, their defense has been getting it done. I really have a hard time picking Arizona in this matchup. I think Arizona is a fantastic team, but they got problems here. James Conner, heel injury. Zach Ertz, hamstring injury. Hopkins, we know, is on IR. Rondale Moore, ankle injury. We know J.J. Watt's been on IR. Hasn't really mattered. But their offense is really just getting depleted, and I thought Kyler was going to be able to do it all on his own, but he wasn't. So at this line, with the Colts as underdogs, I think I'm easily taking them.
See, this is where I disagree with you, and I'm a little upset because at the beginning of the year, I told you that the Colts were going to be good and Carson Wentz was going to do well, and you said no.
He's not doing well.
I don't care, but he's still winning. My whole entire point, though, is that actually I saw this thing on Instagram where it was a meme of Carson Wentz, and it was like the entire crowd is like cheering for Jonathan Taylor, and it's like Carson Wentz looking at like look how much they love me.
They love me. He completed 5 passes, I think, last game.
Well, Mac Jones completed 3, and he's going to be Rookie of the Year.
That's true.
So with that argument, I'm also going to fade the public because 82% of the money for the point spread is on the Colts. And I'm a firm believer that good teams bounce back. So I'm going to take the Cardinals.
The cover as well?
It's only half points. I would hope so, right?
Oh, I had it as a point. Sorry. Yes, half a point. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I hope Arizona wins, but I'm not putting my money there. Let's see what that does for them. I'm kind of curious here. Colts, do they have no clinching options for the Colts this game or this week? For the Cardinals, and they just keep going down. Clinching options. Let's see here. Cardinals win. They clinch at least a 5th seed. If the Eagles lose and the Saints lose, they clinch the 6th seed. If the 49ers lose and the Eagles lose, they clinch the 7th seed. So it looks like there's a lot of options here for the Cardinals to clinch playoffs. They're already over 99% to get in.
Real quick, this is maybe I'm not backtracking my statement about fading the public, but how the hell does this make sense? So 76% of the bets for the money line are on the Cardinals. 35% of the point spread is on the Cardinals. So my logic is, who's taking the Cardinals to win but is not taking them to cover? That doesn't make sense.
Maybe they're just not betting it at all.
Maybe just like you said, enough people are just taking the Colts +1 just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
I had to double take because usually the graph is the same for both the spread and the money line, but this one was like the complete opposite. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think it's because they don't have to bet both. They could just bet just the money line or just bet the spread. Next matchup here, the win streak. Detroit Lions going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons only a 4-point favorite here at home. Again, all of these over-unders are really low. Do we have a single one in the 50s? No. Not a single game in the 50s here. All of them in the 40s. Highest one was the one we just talked about, Cardinals Colts at 49.5. So Detroit going to take on the Falcons. I believe Goff is injured, or was he on the COVID list? He's on the COVID list currently. So that's a rough one. He looked good last game. I mean, you kind of had to if you're going to beat the Cardinals. They got it done. Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Reynolds, the couch surfing running back, coming in and doing work. Man, this is a difficult one in my mind. I don't want to bet Detroit. I also don't want to bet on the Falcons. Falcons injury report. They're good. There's really no one of note here to be worried about. So let's just say they're at full health. At home, Matt Ryan has just looked like fucking garbage. I don't know what he's able to do. Cordero Patterson, he's the only one I trust on this team other than Russell Gage. He's been getting a ton of targets. Target share the past 3 weeks, let's say. Or nope, sorry, that's on the season. Past 2 weeks, he's had 22% and then 30% the week before. So all the targets are going to him and not the high-end rookie, Kyle Pitts, who, in my mind, has been a bit of a disappointment. So, Pat, I hate it. If Goff plays, I'm taking Detroit.
I think I agree with you. I think that Atlanta has nothing really to play for right now. And I think Detroit, in my sense, I actually just saw an article on ESPN, like the most overused term in football is momentum. But I disagree with that. I think momentum is very true because you and I have both played sports before. And like, if your team sucks, you're disappointed all the time. You have no motivation, regardless if you're a professional or not. To me, I think Detroit is trying to redeem themselves as the underdog hero. So, and you mentioned Cordell Patterson. I have him on fantasy. He's been kind of a bum the past few weeks compared to what he was doing. I just think that teams have figured him out, and not that he's doing bad. I just think he's getting destroyed because everybody else in Atlanta doesn't want to play football. So I think I agree with you. I think I'm going to take Detroit. I'm surprised that the spread is that far apart because in reality, Atlanta has not been impressive at all.
No, not at all. And looking here, Falcons technically still have a chance at playoffs. Barely. They have a 5%. I'm sorry, currently a 4% chance. If they win, it's a 5% chance. And that would be for the very last seed. A lot of shit has to happen for them to be able to make it, but they could still do it. I don't recommend it. I think you should, not try your hardest, maybe get some higher draft capital. But players are going to play. And what makes this even more difficult is in the fantasy world, relying on these players to want to keep playing. It's tough when you're on a losing team. So both of us are taking Detroit to win and cover. You also may have noticed we're not reading off the model bets. Just check them out on Action Network. They'll be there. You can also check them out on our website. Let's give a little insight on how the model's been performing as well. This is just completely overall. Overall, for money line, spread, and over-under, it has a hit rate of 50.88%, so just barely better than flipping a coin. On the money line, pretty solid, 60.95%. Spread, not as solid, 47.75%. And then over-under, and if you recall, we stopped tracking over-under just because we knew it was bad. So it's technically still being tracked here. It's included in this calculation, but we're not reading it off anymore. We're not betting it anymore because it's terrible, 39.42%. And I feel like if we took out maybe the first half of the season, this would be better. That's something I would have to look at. But early on in the season, it didn't know really anything about these teams. All it could take was what happened last year. And if we think about it, Kansas City started off very poorly. So that's going to be my example. So last year, of course, they made it to the Super Bowl. And the model's like, oh, they're a really good team. We should pick them to win and cover all the time. And again, if you recall, early on in the season, they were not doing well. It was pretty similar for a lot of these teams. So once we tweaked the model a little bit to look at more recent performances, I feel like the hit rate on these money line spreads has definitely gone up. Something we'll look at and analyze, near the end of the season. All right, next we have a divisional matchup, the Giants against the Eagles. Eagles getting a win against Washington on, Tuesday Night Football, I guess. Philadelphia currently 10-point home favorites here. Daniel Jones has been ruled out for the rest of the season with, I believe it is a neck injury. Let me confirm. Daniel Jones, neck injury. Yes, so he's on IR, done for the season. I don't know if these guys have something to play for. I feel like the NFC East always has an opportunity for some reason. Giants have less than a 1% chance to make it. Eagles, 32% chance of making it. So interesting. They cannot clinch this week, but if they beat the Giants here, so a win really doesn't do much. It takes them from 72% to 79%. I'm sorry, 32% to 39%. But if they lose, goes from 32% to 10%. So a loss would really kill the Eagles here. And we all know they want to get rid of Jalen Hurts and draft a new quarterback. So who knows what's happened there. Pat, that's a lot of points for me. I think they got embarrassed by the Giants the last time they played. So I'll take Philly to win, but the Giants to cover.
I think it's going to be a slaughter fest. I think Blaine Gabbert, which if you listen to the previous episode is clearly a joke because it's actually Mike Glennon. He's going to get slaughtered. The Giants suck. I'm going to take the Eagles in the points. I feel that the Eagles, regardless of what you think about Jalen Hurts, he's still I would take him for the Steelers. Yeah. I actually saw an article today about people saying, well, why can't Russell Wilson go to the Steelers? I don't fucking want Russell Wilson. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts because to me it's a similar style of quarterback, but he's younger. And I'm probably the only person who would want that. But I think that Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders has looked good. I mean, they have like 4 running backs that are actually competent, which will be really exciting to see that moving forward between him, Jordan Howard, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott. So it almost seems like they have sort of like what Tampa had last year with all those guys in the backfield. But to me, I think Philly, even though they really haven't played anybody super solid, I like a 4-1 record over the past 5 over a 1-4, and their only win was against Philly, and they barely beat them. So I think Mike Glennon's not going to get it done. Give me Philly in the points.
Yeah, fair enough. The Jordan Howard knee injury currently not trending to play. Jalen Hurts still on the injury report with an ankle injury. He'll play. Uh, what else we got? Miles Sander, quadricep injury, currently questionable. So keep an eye on that for the Thursday and Friday practice reports. Yeah, speaking of the Eagles, I was having like a heart attack last game watching Jordan Howard play. Jalen Hurts ran the ball and fell down on the one. And I'm like, shit, they're going to give it to Howard, and you're going to get a touchdown, and you're going to end up beating me in this playoff matchup.
Yeah, I had Kenneth Gainwell in, and then I realized that Jordan Howard was back, and I'm like, shit, I need to get him out of there real quick. And what makes me even more mad is that I just shouldn't have been dumb and shouldn't have sat Brandon Cooks. I tried to outsmart you, and it killed me because I lost by the amount of points that Brandon Cooks would have covered for.
You announced that on the show, too. You said you were going to sit him for Keegan.
Yeah.
Keaton.
Sometimes you mess up.
That's true.
No, it's because I thought Darnell Mooney was actually going to be the guy who got in like the 20s. I thought that was going to happen.
Gotcha.
But no, sometimes you're wrong. That's why I only get like 70% of things right.
That's right. That's pretty good, better than flipping a coin.
Yeah, but it sucks when you lose fantasy football and you're in the playoffs. So I could care less if I'd rather be 10% right as long as it's in the playoffs.
Next matchup here, we got a slugfest. Jacksonville taking on the Jets. Fantasy-wise, I like the Jags a lot better without Urban. James Robinson finally getting the work that he deserves. They're still a bad team. Jets favored here at home by 1 point, very low over under 41.5. I don't know. If we were looking at just this season with these rookie quarterbacks, the number 1 and the number 2 pick, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, I think I would rather take Zach Wilson. Trevor has just looked poor.
I think it's tough to see because to me, I think if any of the other quarterbacks like Trey or Mac Jones or any of those other guys would have been on Jacksonville or the Jets, I feel like they'd have the same problem. I'd like to see how it plays out over the next few years. I think that, like you said, at this point in time, Zach's had the better season. Mm-hmm. But I also like Zach Wilson's throwing 191 yards per game, 6 touchdowns, 11 picks. Trevor's 210, 9 touchdowns, 14 picks, which tells me they both stink. Just one throws the ball more. And I think, honestly, what happened is Zach Wilson had that one really bad game, 4 picks, and then the Jets have just kind of faded away after that. So, to me, I don't think it's fair to judge either one of them right now, but I think that what we're realizing is, the quarterback with the elite talent or the elite whatever, depending on what program you come out of, it doesn't matter. I think passer or professional passers are what are needed. And that's what Mac Jones is showing everybody. He's not skillful as any of these guys. He's not as physically fit, but he was ready to come out of Alabama and be successful. And I think that that's going to hopefully eventually change down the road rather than people getting enamored by these super athletes or someone like Zach Wilson, who's in BYU. I don't know if they're still independent or if they're Mountain West, but like in reality, like they don't have the same type of schedule as somebody's Alabama. So he can throw all these passes and have all these stats, but at the end of the day, how does that translate to professional football?
Yeah, it's tough to scout these college quarterbacks, and something we've talked about, well, I've really talked about, is Ohio State quarterbacks. They're always very high draft picks, and they never perform. Never. It's the same this year. You can say Justin Fields is, bad team, bad coach, not getting his opportunities. I just don't think he's good. Somehow he ended up in I think he was like a top 10 fantasy quarterback this past week. And that's because he ran the ball. He did not look good. He didn't look competent. And yes, the Bears are not the best team to be on in terms of competency, but it's weird. I don't know why scouts, coaches, GMs haven't really pieced that together yet, that a fantastic college career does not always translate to the pro league. But this matchup, Pat, is basically a battle for the number one draft spot. Jaguars currently with a 59% chance at the number one spot. Lions at a 28% chance. But I'm pretty sure if they lose here... Oh, wait, where are the Jets? Jets with a 4% chance. But I would imagine if they lose this, it's going to shoot up pretty good here. Lions need to quit winning. So... I think it's still a battle here, at least with 4 teams for the top draft spot between the Jags, Lions, Texans, and Jets. You know, who wants it more? We're going to find out. I feel like the Jags want to win and show they can do it without Urban Meyer. I don't know if I believe they can do it. Defenses. Not great. Neither defense is very good. The Jets giving up the most fantasy points to running backs, so fire up James Robinson. They're pretty good covering the wide receiver, but that's probably because they give up a ton of points to the running back. Give up the 10th most to the quarterback. You're not playing Trevor in this matchup, especially in fantasy playoffs. Jacksonville defense, middle of the pack, 7th most points to the wide receiver position. Man, I don't want to pick either one of these teams. I'll cop out. I'll pick the Jets to win, Jags to cover.
Okay. If you're going to do that, then I'll take the Jags to win and to cover, just to be different.
We do better when we disagree.
Yes.
Next matchup here, Tampa Bay. Completely demolished Tampa Bay. Taking on Carolina. Carolina at home is 10.5-point home underdogs. Matt Rule came out and said today, and it's might be the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Said Cam Newton will start Sunday. That's dumb, number one. He will have a major role in the game, but Sam Darnold will also play at some point. Fucking why? I don't understand it. They're not making playoffs. Let me just confirm their chances at playoffs right now. Panthers, less than 1% chance at playoffs. What are you playing for? Play Sam Darnold, start him. I'm not saying he's the best choice to get you a win, but you need to know if you made the right decision in paying him a decent amount of money. You're going to look like an idiot, which you already do, Matt Rule. And you're going to be next on the chopping block. I don't understand this carousel of quarterbacks this late in the season when there's literally nothing to play for. See what you have in Sam Darnold. We know Cam Newton's done. He's not going to be there next year. What are you doing?
I think to me, he's being probably told something by the GM and he's doing whatever he wants to do. Because for me, if I'm Carolina, everybody hates Sam Darnold, but Cam Newton can suck and everyone's like, yeah, it's Cam, it's whatever. It's the same dilemma that we had in Pittsburgh with Mason Rudolph and Duck, right? You know the right answer. You have to play Mason Rudolph, but nobody wants him in there. So for me, I think that Matt Rule's showing that, you know, as a college coach, he had sort of the authority to do whatever he wanted, and now he's trying to probably play the political game of not pissing everybody off, and it's not working. So I think he's wasting his time. I think they both suck. I kind of hope Sam Darnold gets cut. Maybe the Steelers can get him. They should have got him this year. I don't think he's the problem at all. I think if anybody looks at the Carolina roster, they realize that their wide receivers are trash outside of DJ Moore. And CMC doesn't want to ever play because he's always hurt. So, like, the team stinks. So, to me, I don't think it's fair to assume that either of them suck. But Tampa Bay is going to wipe the floor with them. I don't care who's on the COVID list. Even without Godwin or Leonard Fournette, I guess most of those are injuries. But to me, 10 points or whatever you said it was, I still think Tampa's going to win. I still think that they have the better organization. And, I mean, if you're going to say that you're going to play two quarterbacks, well, like you said, you're just kind of giving a mixed signal.
Couple things about that. The argument I'll make with Rudolph and Duck is we were still playoff bound. You know, we still had a chance. So making that decision and getting it right matters a lot more than these guys. That's at least my mind if I was a coach, but I'm not a coach. So The other thing with Sam Darnold, I don't think they're cutting him. If they cut him, they are going to have $18.9 million in dead cap, which a lot of money. But if they trade him, they have nothing in dead cap. So the issue becomes very similar to a Jimmy Garoppolo situation where who's going to pay $18.9 million for Sam Darnold? I don't think there's many teams that are going to do that. I'd like to say the Steelers. I don't think we do it. I think we, A, draft someone, B, pick up a veteran, or C, both. I keep hearing, I don't really know how I feel about it, but I keep hearing the narrative of Rodgers having his farewell tour in Pittsburgh.
I love it.
It's probably the best move. I think he's going to want a lot of money that we can't really afford, especially if, one, he wins MVP and wins the Super Bowl. He'll be able to ask for whatever he wants. If we give it to him, I'm real curious how our odds go for being Super Bowl winners, because we have all the pieces. I'm convincing myself that I like it more and more. If we pay, I almost said Sam Darnold. If we pay Aaron Rodgers, what would he want? I'm curious how much he would want. Let's take a look. Currently making $27 million. Let's say he wants 30. If we give him that money, we can then go and maybe we still do draft Pickett in the first or something. Who knows? But we can draft the rest of the way out an offensive line and start building that way. You know, maybe get Pickett behind Aaron Rodgers to get trained up. That's a fantastic situation, because that's something we didn't have with Ben and Rudolph. I'm not saying if Rudolph got trained up by Ben, he would have been a better prospect, but Ben didn't want him there. It was very obvious from the day he got drafted that Ben did not want him there. He felt like it didn't help out the team, and it didn't. It might have hurt the team quite a bit more than it helped. But, you know, if we're paying up for Aaron Rodgers, which we, you know, I guess technically we could do, but then we just draft an offensive line completely, that costs us basically nothing. So, man, that'll be interesting to see. Back to sports betting. With you, Pat. It doesn't matter to me who's injured. You know, Ronald Jones starting running back, Antonio Brown, if he plays, will be the starting wide receiver. If not, it's going to be Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller. Carolina's not going to be able to do anything. I'm with you. Tampa Bay to win and cover. Next matchup, Chargers taking on Houston. Pat, is it just me, or am I the only one confused about the Chargers at the moment? It's like they show glimpses of being fantastic, and other times they just look piss poor.
No, I think that is the exact impression that I get as well.
And I don't know if a good comp is Buffalo, but I feel like it might be.
I think it's very fair. I think you have teams that in reality should maybe not Buffalo, now that we see how competent New England is, but I said at the beginning of the year, I think the Chargers roster wise are better than the Chiefs. I would expect them to be super competitive in the AFC West. And right now, I mean, they are, but like, if I'm looking in like sorry, these fucking tabs show up. I lose my train of thought. They're 2 games behind the Chiefs. To me, I wasn't expecting that, especially the way Kansas City started off the season. They look kind of poopy. So to me, I think the Chargers have shown, hey, we can be super competitive, but in reality, the last 3 wins, I don't know. I mean, Steelers suck. They lost to the Broncos. They suck. They beat the Bengals. They looked good as well earlier on. Now they've kind of fallen apart. They beat the Giants, where we talked about they don't have a team, and they lost to Kansas City, but they were at least competitive. So to me, I would say the Bills and the Cardinals are where I'm going to rank the Chargers as like teams that should be really good, but for whatever reason just aren't getting over the hump.
Yeah, this is another super important matchup. They should beat the Texans, but if they don't, their chances of playoffs go from 75% to 51%. So a loss to the Texans, not only does it hurt your pride and make you look like big dumb idiots, but that really harms your playoff chances here as well, with the Chiefs heating up. It looks like they're going to be locked in to the divisional winner for the West, because they're hot. They're on a 7-game win streak now, I believe. And the Chargers, they're almost at 500. You know, it has not been great for them sitting here at 8-6. A little bit of news here for the Chargers. Eckler is now on the COVID list. He was already dealing with a lower body injury. I can't remember what, but he did end up playing last Thursday, and he was fine. He got a touchdown. He did quite a bit of work. If Eckler does not play, Justin Jackson is the backup, and it looks like he can pretty much step into that role and be fine. Joey Bosa, also on the COVID list. Donald Parham is questionable with a concussion. Did you see that, Pat?
No.
That was scary. So he went down. He dove for the ball, didn't catch it. No contact at all with any other player. Hit the ground. His head bounced off the ground, and he was just frozen in position and shaking. Really, really terrifying scene, to say the least. There's this doctor I follow on YouTube. He does a good job at explaining sports injuries and stuff. And, you know, how he explained it was, even though he hit the ground, no contact or anything, the brain's still moving around there inside his head. And it hit the skull hard enough to knock him unconscious. He got carted out. He's fine right now. He's in stable condition. I wouldn't expect him to come back and play. Chargers are 9.5-point away favorites. Again, pretty low over under at 46 points. Houston sticking with Davis Mills. Their running back is Rex Burkhead, I guess. Brandon Cooks also landing on the COVID IR list. So next man up would be Chris Conley and Nico Collins. So, sorry about that, Houston. Man, I wasn't going to bet on Houston to begin with, but without Cooks, I don't know what the hell they do. So Chargers win and cover for me.
100% agree.
Another very important matchup. I think playoff status actually has this ranked as the most important matchup in the AFC. Let me confirm that. Yes. Patriots versus the Bills has an importance factor of 218, and the maximum is usually only 100. So very, very important game here. They're looking for a divisional winner. Bills, if they win this matchup, wow. Okay, so super interesting. So currently, the Bills are at a 68% chance of making playoffs. If they win, it goes to 94%. If they lose, it goes to 56%. If the Patriots win, can they clinch? I believe they can clinch with a win. No, they can clinch this week, but just a win won't do it. But it will get them more than 99% into the playoffs. So very important matchup here. Patriots, 2.5-point home favorites. Again, low over under 43.5 points. Last game, Mac Jones completed 3 passes. They ran all over Buffalo. Do we expect it to be different this time around?
100%, because I think what we've seen with Buffalo is that their kryptonite is a good lead back, and New England doesn't have that. So for me, I think I'm going to roll with Buffalo. I can't see them losing to New England. Now, what's kind of concerning is that points against per game, total yards against per game, passing yards against per game are all top 3 for both teams in terms of defense. Rushing's where it's a little bit different. The Bills are still somehow 16th. They would probably be higher if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor. But to me, I think that that's where the game's going to be decided is rushing yards. And I think that Josh Allen's going to have a great game. So I think I'm going to take the Bills to win. And in that case, to cover as well. But I don't think this over is going to get hit at all.
Yeah, not a chance. Possible freezing rain. Does that change your mind at all? Is this going to be just another run fest?
Probably will be a very similar game to what happened whenever they played New England the first time.
Yikes. All right, Pat, what are you doing here?
Well, if you were listening to me earlier, I said the Bills are going to win and cover. So, what are you doing here?
I'm just making sure. I'm just
make sure I don't change my bets halfway through.
I thought the freezing rain would have changed your mind. No, New England. All right, football math here, Pat. Colts beat New England. New England beats Buffalo. Are the Colts better than Buffalo?
I think Jonathan Taylor is better than Buffalo. I'll rest my case. Yeah, I think Buffalo, if they were consistent, would be better than Colts. I think that they have a better roster. I think right now the Colts have realized we'll just let Jonathan Taylor run the ball and just play great defense, and then they have the Titans model. So
yeah.
I don't think so. I think if they played the game, it'd be very competitive.
This is very tough. I think it's closer than the 2.5 point suggests, which means I should technically take Buffalo to cover. Both of these defenses are just so good. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So yeah, I'll cop out. I'll take Patriots at home. That's tough. I'll take New England to win, but Buffalo to cover. I think it is going to be that tight of a game.
So let me get my money line percentage up higher. So thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Another matchup here. NFC matchup. Rams going on to going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Rams only 3-point away favorites. That seems very close to me, Pat.
I think the reason that you feel that way is maybe because we have this expectation that the Rams should blow everybody out, but
yeah,
let's go over their past schedule, and most of these have been NFC opponents. They beat Seattle by 10. Seattle sucks. Beat Arizona by 7. Now we're starting to question if Arizona's good or not.
Yeah.
They crushed Jacksonville, but that doesn't count. Lost to Green Bay by 8. Yeah. Lost to San Francisco by 21. Lost to the Titans by 12. Beat Houston, beat Detroit, beat the Giants, beat Seattle. Lost to the Cardinals. So in terms of their last competition, the last good team that they beat was Arizona since October 3rd. I don't think the Rams are that great. I think they're good, but I think the reason the line's close is because people are slowly realizing that they relied a lot on Cooper Kupp. They don't have as good of a defense as what we thought because they have 21.6 average points against per game, but in terms of yards against, passing yards, they're middle of the pack. Like, thank God that they have Aaron Donald, someone who can disrupt the line a lot, and they have like some good playmakers. But like in terms of defense, they're just average. And even offensively, they're 24th in rushing yards per game. And we talk about how teams need to have possession teams. They're 26th in possession. They're only averaging 29 minutes. So to me, the Rams are very hit or miss. They're relying a lot on Stafford because Darrell Henderson hasn't been playing super well, and Sony Michel's not a true number one running back. So I actually kind of think it's going to be a shootout. At least it should be. That's why the line's almost at 50. I kind of like the Vikings, especially if Dalvin is available, which he should be. I think Dalvin's going to be the difference maker because if you have the Rams focusing on him, that allows for Justin Jefferson and Thielen to be wide open. And I think that it's going to be a very high-scoring game.
Yeah, if Cook currently not on the injury report, so he looks good to go. Kirk is really my worry here. In the 2 games without Adam Thielen, he's completed 14 passes and 12 passes. Last week, he only completed 12 passes for 87 yards. Now, again, also in those 2 games, Dalvin Cook's pretty damn good and can kind of get it done. However, the Rams can also get it done. Stafford and Cup. That's a good one here. So in this matchup, Pat, fantasy wise, or if you're building a DFS lineup, would you rather stack Kirk and Jefferson or Stafford and Cup?
I think if the price is a huge difference, which it should be, because like you just said, Kirk hasn't been super hot. I think I'm going to do it because I think most people are going to say, oh, Dalvin Cook, he's manhandling all those teams. He played the Steelers rushing defense, so he ran through Swiss cheese, and he played the Bears, and they're not even a varsity football team. So I think that the Rams are good enough to hold him accountable, and that's going to force Kirk to throw, and I'll take the bet on him because I don't know. I have not been super stoked about the Rams offense in the past few weeks, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're bad, but I just think that people are starting to realize that, Cooper Kupp's the guy, and if you double team him and put pressure on Matt Stafford, then it goes back to real life type of quarterback. It's not video game numbers.
And to go back to the price, Stafford is 6.7K. Kirk is 6.2.
What about Jefferson and Kupp?
Jefferson is 8.1. Kupp is 8.8.
Okay, so you're saving $1,200, and I think to me that $1,200 can either get you an elite running back or you have 3 good receivers.
Yeah, I'm about that.
I'm willing to take that chance because I guarantee you Matt Stafford and Kirk Cousins are not going to look that much different at the end of the day. The real difference is going to be Kupp and Jefferson.
And Jefferson has looked on fire the past few weeks, especially without Thielen. I'm not going to say he's going to come back to earth when Thielen comes back. I don't know how you can ignore him. He's looked absolutely fantastic in his past. Let's do his past 4 games. That's weird. Okay. Past few games, 10 targets, 4 receptions, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. 15 targets, 7 receptions, 79 yards, and a touchdown. 14 targets, 11 receptions, 182 yards, and a touchdown. So he's just doing work. A touchdown in each of his last, 3 games? 4 games? 3 games. Yeah, you're not going to sit him, nor are you sitting Kupp. I'd imagine a lot of people in the fantasy playoffs have these guys.
So to close the loop, I'm going to take the Vikings. Screw it.
All right, I'll take the Rams. I'll be different. Another super important game. Baltimore going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Currently, Cincinnati is 2.5-point home favorites. Lamar did not practice today, and I don't know if I care. Huntley looked great. He's looked better than Lamar has all season. So, good for him getting some eyes on him. I don't know when his contract is up with them. Let's take a look because he would be in line to get some work. He is a restricted free agent at the end of this year. So, Baltimore gets to match any offer he gets. I hope he gets offers. He deserves it. He's looked good in all the games he's started, and arguably he's looked better than Lamar when he has started. So I don't know if I care who the quarterback is. I know Mark Andrews would like Huntley to be there because he can actually complete passes to him. So 2.5 points for the Bengals here. It is another very important matchup. Let me just take a look here. So currently, Bengals are the number 1 seed in the AFC North with a 55% chance of playoffs. Ravens technically have a higher mathematical chance at playoffs with 57%. But with this matchup, I think this determines it all. If the Ravens lose this game, they go from 57% chance to a 48% chance. They win this game, they go to an 80% chance. On the flip side, if the Bengals win, they have a 77% chance. if they lose, a 31% chance. So this is very close. And I think it's because the wild card, there's a lot of other teams that are likely to take it instead of an AFC North team like the like the Chargers or the Bills or the Colts. Those are all better probability of making it than any of these AFC North teams. So Pat, Ravens, Bengals are two rivals. Who do you want in this one?
Oh, man, you're going to make me pick? I think... Yeah.
I don't want to.
Okay. I'll take the Ravens, and it's because I think it's a coin toss. I don't see the Ravens losing 4 in a row. I think what I'm looking at here is time of possession. Baltimore's number 1, although Cincinnati is 6. That's pretty good. Actually, very comparable. Time of possession, rushing yards against, passing yards against. So Baltimore's 31st, so this would be a great game to start Joe Burrow and pick a receiver, T. Higgins, whoever you want to do. Maybe CJ Uzoma if you want a cheap tight end. Why not? Who cares? I think I'm going to take Baltimore just because I expect them in terms of the total team. I think that their defense is better and they'll contain the Bengals a little bit better than what I expect the Bengals contain whichever quarterback plays for Baltimore. Like you said, Huntley's look good. So yeah. I think I'm going to roll with that.
Shit.
You want me to change my pick?
No, I'm with you. I agree. I think Baltimore, for every reason you said. I also think their coaching staff is priced better, even though, the 2-point conversions that they go for at the end of the games is just wild. You see the video of Harbaugh asking them what they want to do?
No.
So there's a video, Harbaugh's mic'd up, asking Huntley, he's like, you want to go for 2? And he's like, yeah, let's go for 2. So they went for 2. This was not to tie it or anything like that. It was just earlier in the game, they went for 2. He got it. And then the same situation they had against Pittsburgh. They kick a extra point. They're tied, probably going to overtime. He goes, you want to go for 2 again? He's like, let's just win it. And they did not just win it. So I don't know. It's nice that he trusts his players like that. That's a great relationship to have with a coach. But as a coach, you need to make these tough decisions. And that's twice that he's done it incorrectly. So even with that, I'm with you. I think Baltimore gets it done here. I think they would be a better team in the playoffs and could potentially make a deeper run than the Bengals would. Chicago going to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 6.5-point home favorites. Over under 43 points. Seattle got beat by the Rams this past week. Well, yesterday they got beat. Justin Fields, I just don't think he's good. I don't think I've ever bet on him, and I'm not going to here. Seattle to win. The spread, however, I don't know if Seattle's good enough. It's bigger than I would like. Fuck it. I'll take Seattle to win and cover.
I feel like the time is now, because usually when you make these really short picks and you're just like, I don't like this, I'm just going to do this, you're usually really giving up on something special. Justin Fields is going to have 500 passing yards and 500 rushing yards. So give me the Bears.
All right. Chicago. Also,
I'm just pulling that on my ass. So.
At the end of the game?
No, he will never get fired.
Okay. You think he'll quit before he gets fired?
I think it's going to be one of those situations where they tell everybody, well, we needed him in the front office.
Yeah.
But the front office is in the basement, and then eventually he just disappears.
You see him spike the challenge flag in front of the ref?
Yes.
That was a bad game. All right, Denver going to Vegas, take on the Raiders. Raiders only a 0.5-point favorite in this matchup. They barely beat a depleted Cleveland Browns. Carr sucks. Jacobs did decent work. Renfro. I kind of like that, actually. Renfro, I believe, had his worst game of the season. Only saw 5 targets against Cleveland. Waller, is he coming back? I don't know. Foster finally had a decent game without him, and of course I put him on my bench. Waller. Knee currently questionable, so pay attention to that. Teddy had a scary concussion as well, so that means Drew Lock is starting. Not that their passing game was doing anything to begin with. It's been all Javonte and Melvin. Man. When it's this close, I do like just taking the points, so I'll take Denver to win and cover.
I agree. I think that earlier in the season, I would have picked the Raiders just because, you know, regardless of what you think of Derek Carr, it's the amount that he throws, it's guaranteed to make it a high scoring affair. But I think Denver's defense is too good, and I think it's going to stifle the Raiders. So I don't care who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I don't either. I do care who the quarterback here is in this one. Pittsburgh taking on Kansas City at Arrowhead. Kansas City 8-point home favorites. Steelers need to get a win here. This is another one that is a very highly important game for the AFC. Basically, if the Steelers lose, we're not making playoffs. Currently, we're sitting at 27% chance. If we win, that goes to 53% chance. If we lose, it goes down to 18. So, oh man, these are the types of games that the Steelers thrive in, and it's so hard to bet. But we've seen it year after year where we go and play a tough opponent and we win. Whereas, you know, if we were playing Detroit, I would say we would lose, just because that's how we are. Oh boy. Kelsey on the COVID list. That's not good for Kansas City after that massive performance. Who else on the COVID list? Harrison Butker, Tyreek Hill. Pat, if it stays this way, I'm taking the Steelers outright to win.
Yeah, I agree. And the argument that I was going to make is that the Steelers are the 31st worst rushing yards against defense, which I know rushing yards don't quite make touchdowns, but the more you rush, the more successful you are, the more time you waste, and the more opportunities you have to move downfield. So I don't like Kansas City's running backs at all. I think they're both bums. And if Patrick Mahomes has nobody to throw to, now this is going to be a great game for, like, I don't know, pick a player, Byron Pringle, right? He's going to have 300 yards. But I'm more confident the Steelers are going to hopefully rough up Mahomes enough to get him nervous and on edge and make him at least uncomfortable when he's throwing. So that way, if he doesn't have a safety blanket like Kelsey, then he's going to be forced to make stupid throws. So I think it's going to be a good opportunity for the Steelers to force him to throw and allow for, you know, them to, you know, take advantage and hopefully run the clock out a lot. So I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I think Pittsburgh should win. It's probably going to be like 17-14 or something stupid like that. So I'll take the Steelers to win and obviously cover.
Looking at Steelers injuries, we have Zach Banner and Devin Bush on the COVID list. Freiermuth currently in the concussion protocol. It would be great to have him for this game. It's only Wednesday, making his way through the steps of the protocol. Check back again on Friday. Sunday night divisional matchup. Washington going to take on Dallas. Dallas is 10.5 point home favorites. Washington just had that done to them by Philadelphia. So yeah, easy Dallas win and cover for me.
Now, just because you have the list pulled up, is there anybody from Dallas who isn't available?
Let us find out. So if we look at Dallas, currently, DeMarcus Lawrence has a foot injury, currently questionable. It's only Wednesday. Tony Pollard, foot injury, questionable. He played last week. I think he'll be fine to come back in. No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree then. I was going to say that the ghost of Garrett Gilbert might haunt the Cowboys, but then I changed my mind because if like CD or like any of those guys are out, I'd be like, okay, we've seen that like Dallas's offense isn't super good. Like the bench depth isn't really there.
Yeah.
But when you have 4 pretty good offensive weapons in terms of CD, Cooper, Zeke, and I mean, Michael Gallup is a pretty solid third. It'd be nice if they had Tony Pollard, but it doesn't matter. And I forgot Dalton Schultz. He's decent too.
Yeah, so this, on the opposite side of the ball, Washington is still pretty depleted. Heineke, I didn't play last week. Kyle Allen, still on the COVID list. Kendall Fuller, COVID list. Antonio Gibson injured his toe, and I know all too well that his fucking toe injury last year can really impact him. He ended up playing the entire game, but something to pay attention to because it really screwed me before. Heineke technically still on the COVID list, but it sounds like he should be back. McKissick put on IR, so no J.D. McKissick. Should be hopefully Antonio Gibson the whole way through. Curtis Samuel hamstring injury. I don't really care. What else we got here? Logan Thomas. Yep, we know he's back on IR. Ricky Seals-Jones. If you need a tight end, you could do worse. So it's tough for them. I don't see it going any other way. Just curious how important this game is. Washington. Wow. Washington currently a 9% chance at playoffs. If they win, it goes to a 26% chance. If they lose, 4%. Final matchup of the week, unless games get shuffled around again, which could totally happen, is Miami taking on the Saints. The Saints just beat Tampa Bay with only field goals, 9-0. Saints currently favored at home here by 3 points. The lowest over-under of the week at 38.5. This is just going to be a gross primetime game. I'm not looking forward to this one at all. I don't think anyone's going to have a good game. Looking at injuries, Juan Johnson on the COVID list for New Orleans. Adam Troutman. So apparently their whole tight end room is just on the COVID list. For Miami, we know that they were having issues before. Waddle is now activated off COVID IR. What else we got here? Philip Lindsay should be back. He has an ankle injury, however. Duke Johnson had a really good game, but I'm not sticking with him, in the fantasy playoffs if I had to. What else we got here? Malcolm Brown, quadricep injury. He is on IR, designated to return. That's really it. I don't have a clue in this game. They're just both bad. Normally, I would just say, Tua, I don't like you. I'm not going to play you, but I don't know what it is. I'm getting a tingly feeling here, so I'm going to take Miami to win and cover.
Okay. I was going to pick Miami, but because you did that, I'm going to argue against you. I'm going to fade the public because a lot of money is on the spread for Miami. Actually, 84% of the bets for the money line are on the Saints, but someone's going big because 75% of the money's on Miami. So I'm going to take the Saints. Why not? It's going to be a great day for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I can see that. Fantasy-wise, Waddle's back. He should get back on the horse or on the Dolphin and have a decent game. But I don't know. I'm not going to watch it. It's going to be sad to watch. That does it for the matchups here. Let's jump into fantasy. So let's start with some league issue questions. So situation with this, they have a league where this guy lost the first round of playoffs, but then he opened the app today, and it says he's in week 2 of round 1. So what happened was the current playoff system that they have is set to 2 weeks per round. And no one knew, no one expected it. The commissioner said, no, it was supposed to be 1 week. There were no changes to the settings recently, so this was something he fucked up at the beginning of the season. So what do you do here? In my mind, you play it out. That's how the league settings are set. you already played a week of playoffs. To change it up now, I think would be unfair to most people. But I also get, if everyone understands that it was already supposed to be 1 week, and if you lost this week, that you're done. But it also, in my mind, I'm taking the whole week 15 situation as a whole. Week 15 sucked ass. There were so many issues with COVID and other things that I understand even just wanting to stick with the 2 weeks. So, what do you do here, Pat? Is it just a league decision? Is it a vote? Or does the commissioner just kind of say, hey, I fucked up, but this is what it is?
In other leagues, like I've always done like fantasy hockey or fantasy football. Anytime that I've been the commissioner, the rule was if we mess it up, we have to keep it there because no matter what you do, people are going to get mad, right? Yeah. So, for example, if you don't like the way that scoring works in the playoffs, well, it's too late. You can't go back, even if everyone's like, well, I agree a touchdown should be 5 points. So that's not fair because you think that because you don't like it now. Mm-hmm. You can't go back because that would change the entire season. And to me, if the expectation for people was that there's 2 weeks in the playoffs, everybody would set their lineups differently, I think. Or they would have been probably not as concerned if they would have lost. So, like, who knows what would have happened, what waiver acquisitions would have been made. So, to me, I think you have to say, it sucks to suck. This is how it is, because I don't think anyone's going to vote normally because the people who lose want the 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And it's it should have been caught earlier. Someone should have spoke up earlier. It's a shame no one noticed. That's on your commissioner. That's another thing we should say. Now's the time to start getting your house in order for next season. If you have owners that straight up just gave up and weren't putting in players, get them out. Get them out of the league. Get in people that you can trust and will actually make an effort to make it competitive. We've done that. We've removed people in the past. We've replaced them with other people who have moved on. And really, like, I love our keeper league, Pat, because everyone's so active and trades happen. Yeah, it's usually it can be between the same few people, but usually not. And it's a smaller league. There's only 8 of us, but I'd rather have 8 people who pay attention than 12 and only half of them do. That was the only league issue question. So let's jump into the quarterbacks. We got, Ben versus Kansas City, Tannehill versus San Francisco.
Oh, geez. I hate to say it. I'm going to do Ben.
Yeah, Tannehill's look bad.
And I think we've seen the Steelers is that their line sucks. So, like, Najee's irrelevant until next year. So to me, all those people at the beginning of the year, like Najee's going to be like the number one workhorse. He's going to get a lot of targets, but I'm not starting him over Deontay Johnson, which is sad because you wouldn't think that. But I think if I have a flex play between the two of them, I'm probably going to pick Deontay in this game, especially with Pat Freiermuth not playing.
Yeah, definitely safer. And I think I'm with you. I think Ben's the move here because the way I see it, if the game script gets where Kansas City's putting up a lot of points, we got to pass the ball, whether that's to Najee, Deontay, Chase, whoever. The Steelers are going to have to pass the ball. If the Titans are losing, their game script really doesn't change. They are a run-first team and a run-second team. If they're down, they're still giving it to their running backs because the team was built around Derrick Henry, who's now out. And they really don't have a passing game. Julio should be playing this game, but he hasn't looked great. He's been in and out of injuries. AJ Brown's still not there. So, give me the guy who's going to have to pass the ball. Follow up to that question here. If Lamar doesn't play, would you play Huntley over both of them?
No, I don't think so. I think that the Ravens game is going to be not lower scoring, but I totally see Ben having an opportunity to throw 400 yards and 5 touchdowns or 5 picks, depending on how he wants to throw the ball. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but I think Ben has the higher ceiling in this game based off of the matchup. Whereas with the Ravens, I don't really know offensively if I trust them. Like Tyler Huntley's been good, but are you going with a guy who's been hot the past few weeks or a Hall of Fame quarterback who's a good matchup in terms of he should throw the ball a lot? Regardless if Ben's crippled, I'm going to take Ben.
Yeah, I think that's closer. I think Ben. I would project Ben to have a safer game than Huntley. I think there's a wider range of outcomes for him. But if you are down, let's say tomorrow your opponent has Debo and he goes off. If Lamar's out, I might play Huntley just because I think Huntley's ceiling is bigger than Ben's, but I think Ben has a better probability of a safer outcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, next, Brady against Carolina without basically any weapon, or Herbert against Houston. I've been on Herbert for a while. I really like Herbert. Brady could totally win MVP and all that stuff, but for fantasy, Carolina is a difficult defense. They don't win games, but it's not because of their defense. So first game without his weapons, I'd like to see how that kind of plays out. And, that's hard to say. You can't really do that in fantasy playoffs, but it's a probability game. It always is. I'm playing Justin.
Yeah, I agree as well. And I like the matchup better. I think that, with Austin Eckler out, Jackson's good, but I think that Justin Herbert should throw the ball a lot in this game, and not because I think that it's going to be close, but I think he should have opportunities to throw very easily. Whereas with Tom, we kind of saw them do really bad against the Saints, and if you're missing as many weapons as they are, it makes me wonder what the game plan is going to be.
Cam Newton or Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'm not taking Cam Newton for anything unless the question is Sam Darnold. Cam Newton versus Sam Darnold. Which one am I starting? I'd rather start neither. I'd rather go no quarterback. But
I've done that. Yeah. Cam will get a rushing touchdown. That's it. That's all he'll do. And when the coach says, yeah, he'll start, he'll have a major role, but we're definitely going to swap him with another quarterback. I don't want that. Give me the guy that's going to play the whole game. Little follow-up here. Would you take Justin Fields or Burrow? He's on waivers.
Probably Joe Burrow. I think we talked about this earlier in the episode, where the Ravens have a really good rush defense, but pass defense hasn't been that great. Right. I think that Joe Burrow and whichever wide receiver is hot that day should have a pretty good game.
Dak, they've been winning games, but he's looked off. Dak against Washington, Wilson against Chicago. He also has Burrow and Huntley on waivers. Dak is very difficult to start. The matchup is fantastic, but he hasn't been necessary, I guess is the word to call it. In his past 3 weeks, he's put up 12.2, 11.9, and 10.6 points. They've won all three of those games. They haven't needed him. So as difficult as it is, I think I sit Dak. I'm never going to play Russ. I think he's washed. So I think this is another Joe Burrow for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're trying to outscore, and when I say outscore, like we talked about the previous episode, playing conservatively, right? I think the conservative pick is Joe Burrow. But I think if you're saying screw it, I don't think Dak's going to be a sub 20-point fantasy quarterback for 4 weeks in a row or whatever. Yeah. Then you play Dak. If it's me and I have a playoff team, I'm playing Joe.
Taysom Hill or Russell Wilson?
Taysom
has Miami on Monday night. Russ has Chicago.
I'm still going to take Taysom, I think, because I think both defenses are meh. I think for me, the Seahawks offense is just so boring. Whereas, at least for the Saints, Taysom kind of has to do some stuff because it's him and Alvin Kamara and nobody else. So right. I think I would take Taysom.
Past 3 weeks for Russ, 19.5, 17.7, 21.2.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But what is this?
I guess when I say boring, I don't mean that they're bad. I just because obviously DK Metcalf is a physical specimen. Tyler Lockett's always okay to start, but I'm not. We're not enamored by them. We're not looking for Seahawks players off the waiver wire. We're not saying we have to play Russ this week. That I think that era is gone.
Oh, here we go. So this must be screwed up because it was a Tuesday game. They didn't have yesterday's game up here, but he went 17 for 31, 156 yards, no passing touchdowns, and an interception. So bad game last week against the Rams, but Rams defense likely a decent amount better than Chicago. But yeah, if Lockett doesn't play again, that's difficult. I'll go playoffs. Yeah, I'll go Taysom. I think he gets back on it this week. Pop over to the running back. So we need what we got here. Half point PPR. Would you start Javonte Williams over Najee Harris or Joe Mixon? Or what is this? He's not considering sitting James Robinson.
I wouldn't do that. I don't really like any of those, to be honest with you. Because I just said this about Baltimore's rush defense. They were number 1 in the league in terms of rush defense. So I'm really concerned about that. I wouldn't be comfortable playing Joe Mixon. I think Javonte has the best matchup.
I'm not seeing Joe Mixon show up here. Let me check the injury report real quick. Joe, he plays for Cincinnati. I'm confused. He's like not showing up in this matchup. Whatever. Yeah, I don't think you can bench Najee even after that bad game. I don't think you can bench Mixon. He gets way too much work. James Robinson has the Jets, and the Jets are the worst against the run. I love Javonte, but all three of those guys are quote-unquote workhorses, meaning they're in there basically every snap, and they don't really have a backup. Yeah, there's some AJP run for Mixon, but if Mixon's healthy, he's the one getting all the work, whereas Javonte and Melvin Gordon, they split it literally 50-50. I think they both got 15 touches last week, and that seems to be the game plan for them. Yeah, they're super efficient and can get things done with it, but give me the guys that are going to touch the ball, every play. Full point PPR, Sony Michel or Rojo?
I think I'm going to take a flyer on Rojo. I haven't been impressed with the Rams rushing defense.
Me neither.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take Rojo. I haven't been impressed with the Rams rushing at all. And for me, this is just a sheer guess that eventually Darrell Henderson should take back over in terms of being the number one back. And I'm not really confident that really anybody else like Le'Veon Bell will compete with Ronald Jones, especially if half the receiver core's out. So I like my chances. Whenever Rojo had the opportunities last year, he was good. People forget that. He had several games where he was in the 20s in fantasy. So I'll take him over Sony Michel, who's technically a backup running back.
Yeah, I think Sony has the better matchup, but Rojo, if he gets the full workload that Lenny's leaving behind, he's going to eat. He is their only healthy starter. Well, I guess technically he wasn't a starter, but he's like one of their only healthy players. AB might come back, but yeah, I think I'll roll the dice with Rojo even against a tougher Carolina defense. Pick 2, Jeff Wilson, Javonte Williams, Sony Michel. Elijah Mitchell has been ruled out, just a note there. I think Javonte is in for sure. Then for me, it becomes Wilson or Sony. I don't know. I always have a tough... He's looked good last week. I have a tough time just starting San Francisco running backs in general because they rotate so much, they get injured so much. Even if it is a 50-50 split with Henderson, I think I'm going to go Sony. So Javonte Sony for me.
I agree. I wouldn't trust Jeff Wilson either.
Pick 3, half-point PPR. Clyde Edwards-Helaire against the Steelers. Zeke against Washington. Rojo against Carolina. Who the hell's Monty?
Monty Python.
Yeah. Oh, David Montgomery. God, what? Stop using stupid-ass nicknames for people. All right, so Clyde, Zeke, David Montgomery, Rojo, pick 3. I'm sitting Clyde.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Rojo's the biggest hit or miss. Clyde should have a good opportunity against a really bad Steelers rush defense, but I think Rojo, like you said, if he gets the work, it'll pan out much better than what Clyde will get.
And we talked about it earlier, Dak's not doing much, and that's because their run game has been solid and their defense has been extremely good. So if they're just running out the clock, that means Zeke. Maybe a sprinkle of Pollard, but still. It was between Zeke and Clyde for me, but I think I'll take Zeke. Pick 2, full point PPR. This must be a pretty deep league. So Justin Jackson, Brandon Bolden, or Tevin Coleman. I'm not. Oh, fuck! You got to take 2 of them. If Eckler doesn't play, Jackson's a smash. He's like a top 10 guy, I think. So I'll take Jackson. Oh my god! I don't want to play Tevin Coleman. I don't want to play Brandon Bolden.
Well, that's not the game. You have to pick 2, not debate over 2.
My god. So Bolden gets a matchup against the Bills. Bills' run defense is tough. Coleman gets the Jags. The Jags suck. But they're both they're not starters.
It was the right thing.
Full point PPR, I'll do Bolden. He catches passes.
That's the wrong thing. It's Jackson and Coleman. In this situation, you have to play the matchup because they all suck.
Yeah. I just hope he catches passes. And if they have to, if they only, if they do the same scheme and only pass 3 times, then my idea is bad. Whatever, fuck it. Next one here. Start 3, half-point PPR. DeAndre Swift against Atlanta. I don't think he's playing. I'm pretty sure he's out, so don't count him. James Conner against the Colts. Deonta Foreman against San Francisco. Wilson against Tennessee. Saquon against Philly. Sony Michel against Minnesota. I think I am going Sony, Saquon, and Connor if he plays. Keep an eye on that injury.
Yeah, that's what I would do as well. I think Connor, if he plays for sure. And you're kind of forced. I mean, to me, Jeff Wilson's the wild card. Like at some point, we know Sony's a backup. So okay, so what's Jeff Wilson's actual workload going to be? But I think for the sake of we know what we're getting out of Sony, I think I would just do it to be safe.
Last position here at the wide receivers. Choose 2, Brandon Ayuk, Antonio Brown, Brandon Cooks, Christian Kirk. Brandon Cooks is currently on the COVID list, so pay attention to that. However, if he's not, I'm playing him. My next one would be Antonio Brown. If he's the only, I guess starting wide receiver for Tampa Bay, if he's back and he's the only guy, he should kind of pop into that slot, like Godwin role. So a lot of targets going his way. So I think I go AB and Cooks, but if Cooks is out, I'm going Ayuk. And then, it makes it super easy. If they're both out, it's just Ayuk and Kirk.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick Ayuk over Cooks. And my logic for that is I think that the Los Angeles defense is definitely a harder matchup compared to Tennessee right now. And honestly, I feel like with that offense, if you don't have Elijah Mitchell, hopefully Jimmy throws the ball more. Obviously you have Debo and George Kittle, who's been on fire lately, but I think that Brandon Ayuk should have a good game. I'm really hesitant about Brandon Cooks, obviously because he hurt my feelings last week. So I think I'm going to do Ayuk, and like you said, AB.
Now we got a guy here in the semifinals for the first time, half-point PPR, pick 3, Diggs, you got to start him. AJ Brown, I don't think he plays. Russell Gage, Devonta Smith, Brandon Ayuk. Diggs, Gage, Ayuk. I don't think AJ Brown plays, and the passing game in Philly is non-existent.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think if it was me picking based off a matchup, I don't know if Philly's going to need to throw the ball that much, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a great game for Miles Sanders or whichever running back they put out there. So if the Eagles had a better matchup, I might say Devonta Smith. But I agree with your logic as well.
Full point PPR. Taking on the number 1 seed in his playoffs, AJ Brown. Again, I do not think he plays. Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks, Devontae Parker, Terry McLaurin. Choose 2. If Cooks plays, I think he's the safest bet. He'll get targets, especially full point PPR. That's all that matters. Then, oh my, I don't like Washington at all for a lot of reasons, but they haven't looked good passing. So really then for me, it becomes between Mike Williams and Devontae Parker, and they are 2 different players. Mike Williams is not a PPR guy. Yes, he was getting targets and receptions and everything very early in the season. That has shifted, and now he's back in his role of being just a deep ball threat. Maybe he gets a few receptions, but it could be for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So for full point PPR, I don't think he'll have a ton of targets there. And Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle's coming back, and Tua likes to hyper target him. So I don't know what Parker's role becomes. If you're taking on the number 1 seed and he has a much tougher looking team than you, then I think I have to play Mike Williams and Brandon Cooks.
100% agree. I think that for me, my main concern is, again, the Chargers are playing the Texans, so they shouldn't really have to do too much. I know that I said that receiver-wise, I would expect Justin Herbert to throw the ball a lot. But what I don't see them doing is taking deep threats, because why would you? You're playing the Texans, game management. I think they'll throw the ball a lot. Hopefully, like you said, Jackson gets a good amount of work. But to me, that's definitely 2 hit or miss. So I think I agree with you in this.
Half-point PPR, pick 1. Hunter Renfrow, he had his worst game of the week last week. He's taking on Denver. Amon-Ra St. Brown taking on Atlanta. Gabriel Davis for Buffalo taking on Patriots. If Goff plays, him and St. Brown have had a connection. They've been doing great. Hawkinson is no longer there. Swift probably won't play. Williams probably won't play. He is the only guy to throw the ball to. So if Goff is healthy and playing, I think I go with St. Brown, but I really like Hunter Renfrow as well.
Yeah, I think for me, this is a game of, possibilities versus consistency. And I think outside of last week, we know Hunter Renfrow is the right choice. If Hunter Renfrow didn't have a bad game, this wouldn't be a conversation. So I don't see it lasting that long, especially because, Derek Carr is he number 1 in passing yards still, or is he in the top 2 or 3? Regardless, it doesn't matter. He's going to throw the ball. The opportunity is there, and there's nobody else.
He is now number 2. Brady is 200 yards ahead of him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Hunter. I think St. Brown's a good pick as well, but I don't think you would pass up that opportunity of guaranteed mass targets in a pass-heavy offense.
12 team full point PPR, pick one. AB against Carolina, DK against Chicago, AJ Green against the Colts. A lot of initials here. But for full point PPR, if AB is the only one there, I'm taking him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know who at this point. I mean, has AJ Green done anything the past few weeks? If he has, it's been very quiet.
I think 2 weeks ago when Hopkins got injured in that game, he did well. Other than that, no. They lost to Detroit.
I'm pulling up his most recent games. Yeah, he had 100 yards against the Rams, but other than that, he's been under 100 yards. He hasn't scored in the past 5 weeks.
Yeah. AB, Tyler Boyd. It's AB. You gotta go with it in the playoffs. Any type of PPR, he is almost always the move.
I agree, but I mentioned this earlier. I think Joe Burrow should have a pretty decent game. Tyler Boyd wouldn't be a bad play, but not over a number one because Tyler Boyd's a number 3.
Yeah. Luckily, they do pass a ton, and he was the number 1 guy last week somehow. Jamar didn't do dick. All right, we got. Where'd it go? I had one. Here we go. Full point PPR. This is difficult. Full point PPR. Pick one. Allen Lazard, Devonta Smith, Kadarius Toney.
Is Kadarius Toney even playing?
That is a good question. I'll look at the injury report.
Regardless, I'm still probably gonna pick. I don't know. Now I'm questioning myself.
Toney. He's on the COVID list.
Okay. Is anybody else on that list on the COVID list?
No.
You want to go first?
Yeah. Well, no, but yeah. Tony's out for me. Man. I think in this case, they might see similar workloads. MVS seems to have solidified his spot as the number 2 for Aaron Rodgers. Devonta Smith and Toney can arguably be the ones for their team. Devonta Smith more so. And I think Smith is the most talented of the 3, so I think I have to go with him.
I think for me, you like you just said, I think I'm gonna have to pick Devonta Smith because not only do they have an easier matchup against the Giants, but you just kind of said it. Lazard's like a number 3. So even though the Eagles don't pass the ball that much, I'm gonna take the chance and hope that Devonta Smith gets some targets because although they do have Dallas Goedert, who's usually a pretty good tight end option, I still think it's worth giving it a shot with him.
Let's finish it out here with another wide receiver question. Full point PPR, pick one, maybe 2. So pick one. Full point PPR, Hollywood Brown against Cincinnati, Brandon Cooks against the Chargers, Terry McLaurin against Dallas. Oh, this is all gross. I think I lean Cooks if he plays and isn't on the COVID list. Again, simply because full point PPR, he is the only guy to throw the ball to in Houston. Hollywood. Funny enough, I think I'd be more confident if Huntley was playing over Lamar for Hollywood. Lamar just hasn't looked great in any sense. Running, passing, hasn't looked good. So I'm going Cooks.
Yeah, I agree. I don't trust Hollywood anymore. I think if Lamar was the quarterback, I think I would be willing to try it. But again, we're talking about consistent targets, consistent points. So Cooks is the guy for sure.
That'll do it. Thanks for taking a listen. Longer episode today. Happy holidays. Hope it is all good and dandy. Fantasy playoffs as well. Hope it's not like week 15. That was absolutely horrible. But if you want to follow our picks, you can do it on our website, sleepingwiththenumbers.com. You can follow our action networks, where I am newly verified. I don't know if that actually means anything, but I got a cool little checkmark shield thing. So follow me on there. Follow Pat at Pat Fox on Action Network. Follow the model at SWTN_ML_model. You can also check us out on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We're all over the place. Give us a Google, Sleeping with the Numbers. You should be able to find us. If you're out of playoffs, if you need something to do this week, Monkey Knife Fight is a great way to kill some time. If you need to get away from relatives during the holidays, just go sit in the corner, play some Monkey Knife Fight, do some prop betting, watch some sports. It's simple to do. You sign up, you pick a game, you pick a player, you pick a certain stats. It could be fantasy points, receptions, passing yards, rush yards, whatever you want. Any kind of prop bet you can think. And then you simply choose an over or under, pick how much you want to wager in increments of $5, and you win, hopefully. But if you use our link, you win immediately. When you sign up, your first deposit is matched instantly